Kraid! Kraid is a massive grappler who excels at punishing mistakes from his opponents with enormous amounts of burst damage, all while pushing his opponent into a corner with his variety of projectiles and long-range poke options. While he might be able to throw his girth around, Kraid's massive size leaves him highly susceptible to all forms of damage, and when mixed with his very poor movement speed, you've got a character that might end up getting crippled if his opponent gets an early lead. Thankfully, it only takes a single opening for Kraid to close the gap, and as a Kraid player, it's your job to carefully read the battlefield and not jump the gun, patiently approaching and looking for an opening in your opponent's game plan in order to make it big. However, if your opponent is overly aggressive and would rather bring the fight to you, show them that your size isn't just for show. Kraid is an enormous monster-like character. Dethroning fellow Metroid villain Ridley is the tallest character in the game, and dethroning Bowser is the heaviest character in the game by quite a decent margin. As a matter of fact, Kraid is so large that he stands taller than the lower platforms of stages like Battlefield, and as a result, he's both excellent and awful at platform camping. However, something that large doesn't move very fast, and this can be seen through Kraid's absolutely horrendous mobility. While it might not appear that bad at face value, as he technically doesn't need to move very far given his size, your range and damage are your greatest tools against those looking to play a hit-and-run game. This is also accentuated thanks to notable changes made to Kraid's physical appearance, which includes longer arms with larger hands and longer legs. Thankfully, Kraid's saving grace as a character is his access to super armor on the startup of each of his attacks, this window usually hovering between the first 4 to 7 startup frames of each attack. At his core, Kraid's kit is designed to make you feel like you're in control of an immovable giant, much like you'd expect from, say, PTX-40A from Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, just not to that much of an extreme. In terms of mobility options, Kraid has 2 jumps, along with the ability to crawl, with said crawl being Kraid's main way of avoiding damage from above. Kraid's character mechanic is a simple passive buff that adds some defensive protection to a character that presents himself as a massive walking punching bag. And thankfully, it's a buff that affects the biggest part of his body. I call it Belly Bulwark. Where a character like K. Rool can only take so much damage before his belly mechanic is broken into pieces, Kraid's belly mechanic simply reduces incoming damage and knockback by 20%, all while allowing him to shrug off smaller projectiles entirely, meaning that he can't be halted by moves such as Wolf's Blaster or Samus's regular missiles. As a character who will undoubtedly have a tough time approaching his opponents, it's only fitting for the grappler to have an option that allows for them to counter ranged play in advance on their targets. And while this might not be on the same level as, say, Potemkin's FDB, it'll definitely be a tool that will help the player deal with the oppressive existence of choosing to play a grappler. We live and die by patience, and we'll take whatever advantage we can get. However, in exchange for receiving a flat damage nerf, Kraid will take 10% extra damage from projectiles if he's hit in the face, mimicking the iconic way to defeat Kraid in each of his Metroid appearances. You'd think Kraid would learn by now to not loudly scream and constantly expose his weak point, but sadly, that's not the case. Not even here in Smash. Kraid's normals will mainly be comprised of attacks using his sharp claws, large tail, and powerful jaw, although there will be instances where he will utilize his massive body as a battering ram, for when you're as big as Kraid, you can afford to throw your weight around. Kraid's neutral combo is Pirate Cutter Combo, a 3-hit sequence of attacks that will start with 2 claw slashes and ending with Kraid launching his foe with a belly thrust. This is one of Kraid's safest attack strings thanks to its relatively normal startup speed, but in exchange, it's also one of the few moves Kraid has that doesn't have any armor on startup. Overall, this combo is Kraid's best punish option thanks to its speed, and since Kraid is so tall, it can even be used to punish opponents both on the ground and on platforms. Kraid's forward tilt is Brutal Jaws, a slow but powerful bite attack that will have Kraid push his body forward, extending his range and lowering his hurtbox in the process. If the opponent is outside of Kraid's jab range, this is one of his best pokes and safest ways to challenge an opponent's approach. And compared to his other grounded normals, this move has a notably large cancel window. Kraid's up tilt is Upper Claw, a rising claw slash that will send his opponent soaring on impact. Thanks to Kraid's immense size, the player is capable of punishing even the top platform of most stages with this powerful attack, and at higher percents, this move can even be used to secure a kill. However, what it has in terms of range and damage is brought down by a slow startup speed and a very brief hitbox, meaning it might not be as easy to use as you might think. Kraid's down tilt is Tail Swipe, this move having the massive giant swing his body around to attack with his massive tail. In comparison to his other grounded attacks, this move's range far outclasses Kraid's other options, but since the big guy isn't used to moving around too much, its speed makes it a rather risky attack to use at close to mid-range. However, thanks to its range, it can be used to snipe opponents trying to recover. Kraid's dash attack is Crushing Blow, a full body tackle that will have Kraid throw his weight forward in order to flatten whatever's in front of him. Kraid's immense weight makes this a very dangerous attack to trade with, as it not only has armor, but can also secure a kill at surprisingly low percents. However, that amount of weight takes a while to get going again, so if Kraid misses his mark, the player will more than likely be left on the receiving end of a nasty counterattack. For his get-up attack, Kraid will perform a claw slash on either side of himself, all while performing a bite for his ledge attack. While Kraid's grounded normals show off the immense strength of the gargantuan lizard, his smash attacks will have him lean heavily into using his weight as a weapon. He's the largest character in the game, and he wants you to know it in the most literal way possible. Kraid's forward smash is Dreadful Claw, a destructive attack that will have Kraid throw his weight forward, putting everything he has into a powerful lunging slam. A reference to Kraid's powerful melee attacks from Metroid Dread, this move can secure a kill at early percents while plowing its way through a potential retaliation from your opponent. But like a majority of Kraid's attacks, he's a sitting duck if he ends up missing completely. Try using this move near the ledge to punish an opponent's recovery or to destroy incoming projectiles. Kraid's up smash is Towering Brute, this move having Kraid use the entirety of his upper body as a battering ram as he thrusts himself upwards, launching anything in his path on contact before letting out a bellowing roar. This is Kraid's best answer for an opponent attempting to camp on platforms, as while his up tilt can cover a huge range, this move's charge animation will have Kraid greatly lower his hurtbox, making it very difficult for an opponent to punish this attack from above. On top of that, this move's launch power is nothing to scoff at, and compared to Kraid's other smash attacks, this one's recovery is the fastest by quite a decent margin. Finally, Kraid's down smash is Violent Tantrum, a powerful double-sided attack that will have Kraid attack with both his arms and his tail at the same time. In comparison, the tail's hitbox is much larger than the hitbox of his fists, but in exchange, his fists will deal far more damage. Positioning with this move is very important, so if you think you can catch a mistake from your opponent but don't want to get too close, turning around before you attack might help catch your opponent off guard. It's kind of hard to believe that a character like Kraid is even capable of jumping. However, since this is Smash Brothers, he must abide by its game rules and get airborne every now and again. And with the ability to get airborne comes a unique set of aerials that he can use to push back his opponent's approach. These moves are designed to work in tandem with Kraid's mostly grounded playstyle, mainly working as desperate get-off-me tools or as KO options made to take advantage of how much space he takes up on the screen. Kraid's neutral air is Body Flop, a lingering attack that will have Kraid extend his body outwards as he jumps. Much like the neutral airs used by characters like Incineroar and King Dedede, Kraid will hold this attack until he touches the ground, and while its startup isn't that fast, Kraid's size more than makes up for it by cutting off a large portion of the stage. This is also Kraid's safest landing option, and once he touches the ground, the screen will shake violently for a brief moment as Kraid slowly lumbers back onto his feet. Kraid's forward air is Double Claw, a powerful stock closure that will have Kraid attack in front of him with both claws at once. In terms of frame data, this move is roughly in the middle when it comes to startup and recovery, but in terms of launch power, it's Kraid's best aerial by a notable margin. This is best used to trade with jump-ins or knock your opponent off screen if you find yourself near the ledge. But considering Kraid is the way he is, it's not recommended you go off stage to secure that KO. Kraid's up air is Crushing Headbutt, a destructive upper body attack that will have Kraid smash his head into any foe above him, much like characters such as Donkey Kong and King K. Rool. In terms of speed, this is Kraid's fastest aerial overall, as as it benefits an average startup speed with a reliably fast recovery. It's only fitting that a character who's known for taking up an entire room would be skilled at preventing characters from jumping over him, and Kraid's ability to challenge platforms is a testament to that fact. Kraid's back air is Tail Whip, a long-range attack that will have Kraid spin around in midair to strike with his massive tail. Overall, this is a reliable spacing option with landing leg that's just low enough to not have Kraid get eaten alive if he chooses to land with it. And thanks to the disjoint in the latter half of the tail, it might be able to help Kraid win a trade at a point where the player needs it the most. Finally, Kraid's down air is Girth Stomp, this having Kraid perform a downward thrust with both of his legs, spiking anything below him on contact with an incredible amount of force. Thanks to Kraid's immense strength and weight, this Meteor Smash will give Ganondorf and Byleth a run for their money, and with decent recovery speed backing it up, the only thing holding this move back is Kraid's lack of an offstage presence. Still, should the rare occasion arise where you have an opportunity to land this move, don't hesitate to secure an important kill. Kraid will grab his opponent with both of his claws, picking them off the ground so that he can bite them for his pummel. As for his throws, this is a place where Kraid's playstyle gets a chance to shine, because on top of providing an immense amount of burst damage, this is Kraid's safest way of securing a KO thanks to the fact that it bypasses a lot of Kraid's major weaknesses. Just try to not be too predictable with your grab attempts, as while you have a large grab radius, your grab speed is very slow. Kraid's forward throw is Overwhelming Pressure, a brutal showing of Kraid's strength as he bites down on the grabbed opponent, all before spinning and launching them away using his upper body. This is an excellent kill option if Kraid manages to catch his opponent near a ledge, and it can even be used to give the Green Giant some space in matches with more than 2 players. But even with those milestones, this still ends up being one of Kraid's more situational throws. Let that be a testament to how good Kraid's grab game really is. Kraid's up throw is Rock Wrecker, this powerful attack having Kraid slam his opponent into the ground, the force of the slam bouncing them back up and right into the path of Kraid's fist, this blow being the last thing they see before they're sent flying through the clouds. Like his forward throw, there are situations and placements where this is Kraid's best kill confirm, but what makes this throw far more valuable to the player is that even if it doesn't kill, it does place the opponent in the perfect position to earn some extra damage, as it's quite difficult to trade with Kraid when he's directly below you. Kraid's back throw is Tectonic Timber, this move putting Kraid's full weight behind it as he falls backwards with his opponent in his mouth, creating an immense shockwave on impact and launching the caught foe away from the force. This is Kraid's strongest throw by quite a decent margin, boasting not only the best damage, but the best launch power and knockback growth as well. There's not much that needs to be said that the stats don't say for me, but rest assured that, more often than not, the massive thud will be the last thing your opponent hears before you either gain advantage or close a gap. Finally, Kraid's down throw is Heavy Pile Driver, a powerful leaping slam that will have Kraid smash his opponent into the ground headfirst before they're bounced upwards. While this throw simply serves to deal damage, it can be used to set up a combo if the opponent is at very low percent. And by that, I mean practically at 0. And considering Kraid's damage output, chances are high you're only going to land this combo once before the opponent is pushed out of combo range. We've now reached Kraid's specials, and as Smash's first true power grappler, he brings with him not only a pair of destructive command grabs that can obliterate his opponent's stocks, but also a pair of projectiles he can utilize in order to approach and corner his foes. Top that off with a reliable recovery option, and you've got a character that can be truly terrifying once he gets his hands on you. Starting with the neutral special, Kraid will utilize an ability he has used to attack Samus in both Super Metroid and Metroid Dread, although its design here in this moveset is based more on its Metroid Dread iteration, Regurgitated Blast. By holding the B button, Kraid will slowly start to build up energy within his mouth, his throat enlarging like that of a frog as the move reaches maximum power. Once the B button is released, Kraid will then launch a wave of globules from his mouth, it raining down in an arc and dealing rapid damage to any opponent in his path. However, if the move is fully charged, Kraid will instead launch out a wave of small fireballs, much like the ones he shoots during his fight in Metroid Dread, these fireballs dealing far more damage and dragging the opponent back a considerable distance. Much like Ridley's Plasma Breath, this move cannot be stored for later use, meaning that you're forced to commit to this attack's slow startup and recovery speed, but there's more to this move than simply just dealing damage. On top of being one of Kraid's best edge guarding tools thanks to its wide range, this move is an excellent way to hold an opponent in hit stun or block stun, allowing for a potential follow-up or, more importantly, leaving your opponent wide open for a command grab. Just be sure you can time this move carefully, as even though Kraid won't take extra damage if he's hit while charging, this move doesn't boast any armor. Moving on to his side special, let's talk about something that's a bit more familiar to fans of the Metroid franchise. And by that, I mean talk about Kraid's most iconic attack, Nail Toss. This standard fireball projectile will have Kraid detach a pair of nails from his hands and launch them forward, these nails traveling in an upward arc and breaking apart once they either collide with an opponent, the stage, or simply go a certain distance without touching anything. In comparison to Regurgitated Blast, Nail Toss is designed less for defense and more for helping Kraid push himself forward, mainly thanks to their slow speed and multiple hitboxes, making it an excellent weapon for holding rushdown characters at bay, especially ones that lack a projectile of their own. However, this move does sport a notable weakness that can be exploited by certain characters, and that's their low level of priority. As a result, characters with multiple projectile options or moves with piercing effects such as Rob's Laser or Robin's Thoron will make it much harder for Kraid to get close, so try to not get too impatient. Moving on to his recovery special, I can hear the questions from here. How exactly does a character like Kraid properly recover? He's never been a character who has been known for his ability to, well, move around, even in general. Thankfully, there's an aspect of Kraid's character that might just help solve this problem. You see, with every fight save for his Metroid Dread battle, Kraid is shown to burst his way through the ground in order to fight Samus. Now, how Kraid gets around by moving under the ground in tight spaces is left up to speculation by the player, but my interpretation is this: Brinstar's acid. Given his heavily armored body, it's not hard to believe that the acid wouldn't bother Kraid in the slightest. And seeing as acid is abundant throughout Brinstar and its depths, it's also not hard to believe that it'd allow for a creature like Kraid to move around without having to break too many chambers with his size. Also, while it might not technically be canon, the way Kraid dives and re-emerges from the lava on his stage feels natural to his character. This concept all comes together with Kraid's recovery special, which is titled Acid Rocket. With this, Kraid will raise one of his legs before slamming it down into the ground, causing the ground to crack below him and unleash a powerful torrent of acid. This acid will push Kraid off the ground and high up into the air, his body acting as a battering ram as he deals damage to anyone in his path. After reaching a certain height, Kraid will fall through the air at incredible speed, all while dealing far more damage coming down than rocketing up, only to slam into the ground with a massive screen-shaking thud. This move's recovery distance is surprisingly strong for a character of Kraid's stature, and if used in the air, the player can either rocket themselves straight up or at an angle as a rock appears below Kraid's feet. However, once started, the player will be unable to cancel this move until Kraid either touches the stage or the blast zone below it. And while having a hitbox both on the way up and the way down is nice, Kraid can still be knocked out of this move if his opponent carefully aims for his upper or lower body. Now, you've got an idea about how Kraid's playstyle works by now, with slow but massive attacks that can either be used to push opponents away or push himself forward at a slow but steady pace. But now it's time to talk about Kraid's single most important attack, a move that can lead to huge damage, early kills, and a lot of complaints from your friends once you get your hands on them. This is Kraid's down special and command grab, which has been titled Bulwark Cannon. This attack will have Kraid swipe his arms in front of him, attempting to sweep up the closest opponent in his grasp. If he manages to catch an opponent, he will stand up straight and bring them level with his stomach, all before striking them with a point-blank belly spike. The impact from this attack will cause the screen to flash, much like it would if you managed to land a Falcon Punch or a Force Palm, all before the struck opponent is launched away with an immense amount of velocity. With both huge damage and big comeback potential behind it, this move is the definition of risk versus reward, and as a grappler, this is the attack that everything in your kit is designed to both work towards and work around. While most grapplers don't live or die by their command grabs, these attacks are meant to reward patience and your ability to adapt to your opponent's playstyle, all while also being a warning that you're not a character to be underestimated, and Bulwark Cannon fits both of these categories perfectly. However, as amazing as it is, Bulwark Cannon only works if Kraid is grounded and will not work against airborne opponents. It's not uncommon for a grappler's grab attempts to be thwarted by a jump-happy foe, but thankfully, most grapplers tend to have tools that can punish this fear, be it super armor, big meaty normals, or, in most cases, a second command grab that only works on airborne opponents. Enter Kraid's air-exclusive command grab, the Brinstar Bomb. With this, Kraid will grab his opponent tight before falling back towards the stage, crushing them under his immense weight. As painful as it is to be on the receiving end of a creature as large and heavy as Kraid, he'll up the ante by launching a point-blank belly spike on his pinned opponent. This blast pushing Kraid back onto his feet and launching the opponent straight up into the air. Overall, Brinstar Bomb appears to be a weaker aerial alternative of Bulwark Cannon at face value, but what's unique to this move is that it will increase in damage the longer Kraid falls through the air, giving it the potential to out-damage Bulwark Cannon if the player is daring. However, since Kraid isn't exactly known for his aerial expertise, the player might end up having to get creative in order to maximize this move's damage. Next up is the Final Smash, and for Kraid, it's only fitting that he gets to embrace his greatest assets as a character, his size and his strength. This is the Might of Brinstar. When this final smash begins, Kraid will leap up into the air and slam into the ground, causing a wave of magma to rise up from the ground in front of him and launch all opponents hit up into the air, blocking them into the cinematic final smash. The screen will then transition to show the caught opponent stranded on a tiny platform in the middle of a cavern filled with magma, only for the camera to draw back and reveal an enormous beast emerging from its depths. It's Kraid, and this time, he's absolutely massive. After letting out a deafening roar, Kraid will unleash a series of attacks on the tiny platform, damaging his opponents in the process, all before performing a final blow to shatter the platform and make the magma rise. This magma will cover the screen as it transitions back to the stage, with all opponents being launched skyward as Kraid emerges back onto the stage from a magma puddle. Was that the same Kraid as the one you're controlling? Could you in fact be the mini Kraid from Super Metroid and you summon the real one during the final smash? I'll leave that up to your interpretation, but rest assured that the damage dealt to your opponents will be very real. For his victory theme, Kraid will share the same theme as his fellow space pirate commander, Ridley. This song has essentially become the Metroid villain victory theme to me ever since I did the video on Ravenbeak, and I feel it fits Kraid just as well. Victory animation number 1 will have Kraid emerge from the ground in a wave of dust and rubble, letting out a mighty roar before posing for the camera. This victory animation is based on the way Kraid's battle starts in both Super Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission. Victory animation number 2 will have Kraid fire off a series of belly spikes, all before turning back to the camera and proudly patting his stomach. It's not unsurprising that Kraid would want to show off his most iconic attack, all while showing off a bit of his personality outside of roaring like a madman. Finally, victory animation number 3 will have Kraid perform a vicious claw combo before stopping to pose for the camera, this animation being designed to show off Kraid's vicious nature. Taunt number 1 will have Kraid let out a low, rumbling growl, his eyes glowing vibrantly as he raises his claws in a battle-ready pose. The addition of glowing eyes did a lot to add to Kraid's expressiveness in Metroid Dread, and I feel it's an aspect that should be definitely maintained for the character going forward. Taunt number 2 will have Kraid proudly pound his stomach, much like a knight would pound their shield to taunt their foe into attacking. While a simple taunt at face value, using this taunt several times in a row will have Kraid perform an extra animation at the end, namely rubbing his stomach from hitting himself repeatedly. It's a taunt that shows more of Kraid's personality and his sense of self-awareness, which is nice since Kraid has never been shown to be overly bright. Finally, taunt number 3 will have Kraid rear back and let out a deafening roar, its length and vocalization being similar to the one he performs in Metroid Zero Mission. It's something that Kraid loves to do thanks to his short temper, and yes, he will take extra damage if you shoot him in the mouth during this taunt. Kraid's colors will make reference to two main aspects of the Metroid series, those being other prominent villains and the other color palettes he's had over the years. They're meant to be simple changes to his appearance, as Kraid's standout feature is less how he looks and more about how much space he takes up on the screen. Kraid's first color is his standard color scheme from the Metroid series, sporting dark green scales and a beige underbelly. Kraid's second color will be based on his classic appearance from the original Metroid, this having him sport muted yellow scales and a bright green underbelly. Kraid's third color is the first to make reference to his fellow Metroid villains, this one being based on Crocomire from Super Metroid. This will have Kraid sport vibrant red scales and a white underbelly. Kraid's fourth color will make reference to his fellow Metroid villain, Phantoon, this having Kraid sport a set of golden yellow scales along with a beige underbelly. This can also be considered a reference to his statue from Super Metroid as well. Kraid's fifth color will reference the color scheme Kraid sported in Super Metroid, having him sport a pair of verdant green scales and a light green underbelly. This will also change the color of Kraid's eyes from red to maroon, just like they are in Super Metroid. Kraid's sixth color will make reference to his fellow space pirate and already playable character, Ridley. This will have Kraid sport bright purple scales along with a pink underbelly. Kraid's seventh color is a brand new color created just for Smash, this color having Kraid sport ocean blue scales and an ice blue underbelly. While this color is original, you could technically consider this the color Kraid would become if he were to be frozen by Samus's ice beam. Finally, Kraid's eighth color will reference the Mockin soldiers of Metroid Dread, the game that brought Kraid back to the series after nearly 20 years. This color will have Kraid sport silver scales and a black underbelly to match the Mockin soldiers' armor. Talking about Kraid becoming playable in a game like Smash Bros. Is odd, to say the least. Is he a relevant Metroid character? Yes, he's now the Metroid character with the most appearances that isn't playable in Smash already. Does he offer moveset potential? Yes, there are aspects of his character that can be used to help create a functioning moveset, as you've already seen by watching this far. Is he too big? Size as a whole is irrelevant to the world of Smash Bros., and Kraid's massiveness offers the potential to make a character that's truly meant to feel large and menacing instead of just being a quote-unquote large character. It seems like there really isn't much holding back Kraid from working in Smash Bros., which makes me bring up the question, why does almost nobody talk about his potential? Well, that too is a tricky question. Some could say it's hesitancy thanks to his size. Some could say it's because of the fact that Kraid has never been in the same popularity group as Ridley or other notable Metroid characters. But I think the main reason that people don't talk about Kraid in Smash is because there's already a character that people actively want to be the next Metroid character in Smash, Ravenbeak. Ever since Metroid Dread's release, Ravenbeak has been the talk of the town amongst fans of the Metroid series, as his fantastic design, imposing presence in the series' lore, and amazing boss battle really helped the Mockin chieftain stand out. And as someone who is already rooting for him to be a playable character in the next Smash, I can completely understand why people love him so much. As a matter of fact, Ravenbeak was such a big deal that he effectively overshadowed Kraid's presence in Metroid Dread altogether. And sure, Kraid's boss battle was fantastic and a great return to form for the character, but it wasn't anything great compared to the final battle Ravenbeak provided. It feels as if Kraid is a character who's destined to fall back into obscurity, as unless there's a remake of Super Metroid on the horizon or Kraid manages to make a surprise appearance in Metroid Prime 4, there really isn't much left for this character to do. Still, he has his fans, and I think he has some potential to work in a game like Smash Bros. But at the end of the day, he's not my first pick, and the same can be said for many fans of the franchise. I've been Felicia Fan, and thank you for watching.